To be young, rich, and miserable. To be young, rich, and miserable. This is a reaction video to something I saw not long ago where it was an old interview from Gilbert Arenas. And Gilbert Arenas talks about the fact that he retired from the NBA at 32 years old with roughly $100 million net worth. And homeboy was miserable. See, from the outside looking in, most would say if you're young and you're rich, what is it for you to be worried about? But dude will share with you that he was young, rich, and absolutely miserable. A lot of times when you don't have something, the grass always appears greener on the other side. Therefore, all of your concerns are done once you have said thing, right? So if you're broke, you believe that money fixes all your issues. All I need is a couple of million, then I'm fine. My life is easy. Everything is, the way that I desire it to be. If you're a person who's single, you're like, man, all I got to do is meet the person of my dreams. And next thing you know, I can ride off into the sunset. Everything works out because I have that thing, right? Somebody who doesn't have children is like, yo, if I just had kids, everything would be perfect. Some would say, if I just had a bigger house, you know what? If I just had that house over there or a house like that, everything would be fine. I have all the space I need, all the closets, all of this. I'd be fine. Everything would work out and it would be perfect, right? It's always this perception of the grass being greener on the other side when you have something. But when you hear more and more conversation of individuals who have that thing that you desire, you come to realize that all that glitters ain't gold, right? So it's a blessing to be married. It is literally, I would not trade it for a thing in the world. But I will tell you, marriage is work. I would not trade being a father for anything. I absolutely love it. But please believe, fathering, parenting is work. Again, it's work that's worth it, but it's work nonetheless. And so when I hear more and more examples about individuals who seemingly have everything in the world at their fingertips, and they're honest about the fact that, yeah, but I'm miserable, it makes you pull back and understand that everything should really start with us being, not complacent, but having, comfort and joy in the things that we have. It's not about being complacent. It's about having contentment, right? And having joy in where you are and not go in this or go down this perpetual loop or down this perpetual hole of chasing something that we don't have. Because when you're chasing something, you're chasing it because it's running from you, one. But then at times you're chasing something because you believe that your life has some type of deficit in it. Only to realize when you get to that place that that was really not the destination to begin with. Everything starts with you understanding how to be content with who you are. Now, you can have goals and you can want to step things up and improve and upgrade and all of that. That's fine. But you have to first start with joy, that baseline of peace, right? You have to start with that. But you also need to start with being content with who you are. Again, not complacent, not sitting back and saying, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to stay where I am, but being thankful for where you are. Because where you are, you could be worse. Yes, you could be better, but you also could be worse. So therefore, each moment, be thankful for where you are. Because everything that you desire, there was a cost to be paid for that. And Gilbert Arenas is going to talk a little bit about his story here really briefly, but I want you to hear it and then we'll come back in just a second.
What does a retiree, a 32-year-old retiree who's worth $100 million spend their days over the next like year or two?
Trying to find out who he is. Miserable.
Really? You were miserable?
Yeah.
Huh. I did not expect this answer. Okay.
Because, you know, like any athlete, right? From the ages of 6, 7 years old, all we knew was one thing: hoop.
Yeah.
Hoop school, right? Hoop summer, hoop play, right? Hoop
okay,
school.
so you were how old when you started playing? 6?
I started at 10.
At 10, yeah. You were a little bit later.
Yeah, I was later.
So from 10 years old, but you were nonstop.
Yeah, so 10 to 32, nonstop. All I knew was basketball, right? That's all I knew.
You were rich at the time.
So what he said was from the age of 10 to 32, all he knew was basketball. So yes, he has money, but the reality is he didn't know who he was. Because he had spent his whole life pursuing this hoop dream, he didn't really take time to understand who he actually was. And in this point of transition, you have to understand that you're more than just what you do. If you build your identity into what you do, what happens when that thing changes? What happens when that season is over and now you need to unlock a new season of life, but all you know is what you've done thus far, right? Yes, you have a pile of money. Yes, you can walk into any place and everybody knows who you are. Yes, you can buy whatever you want and have access to anything that you want. But the reality is, when you look in the mirror, it's empty. So to me, examples like this are a clear, note that we need to spend time understanding who we are, but also understanding who we are with all the layers pulled away. You are not what you do. What you do is just simply what you do. But that doesn't define you. Your identity is not caught up in a title. Your identity is not caught up in your net worth. Your identity is who Christ has designed you to be. Who are you? When you look in the mirror and you strip all of that away, who are you? Not what you do, not what you do for other people, not what you're known as. Who are you? See, that's a question that we all need to ask ourselves, because again, we can add more money into the mix. We can add titles and accolades, and we can add relationships and families. We can add all of this stuff into the mix. But if we don't know who we are at our core, if we're not comfortable with who we are, when all that stuff is stripped away, when you're riding in the car, do you have to constantly have something going on so that you don't have to spend time with yourself? Or can you really spend time with yourself? Are you comfortable with the thoughts that are in your head? Are you comfortable with what you see in the mirror when nobody's standing behind you? Those are the questions we need to ask, because the moment that the lights go off, the moment that the crowd's no longer cheering, the moment that, you don't have the same fame or notoriety as you had before, are you comfortable with yourself? Or were you just comfortable in who you were known to be? See, I interviewed a brother years ago on a previous podcast platform that I had. His brother's name is Halloran Hilton Hill, amazing radio guy. He's in the Tennessee Radio Hall of Fame. But one of the things we were talking about is we were talking about fatherhood. And he made the point, he said there's a difference between being a good father and being known as a good father. See, most of us spend our lives wanting to be known as. Most of us spend our lives wanting to be known as, whether it's known as a good father, known as a good husband, known as a good businessman, known as a wealthy individual, known as a person with a nice house, or known as the person with the nice car. We want to be known as the thing. But the reality is, do we have the gumption? Do we have the motivation to actually be the thing? Because the interesting scenario is, when you are the thing, you don't have to worry about being known as the thing, because being known as the thing is simply a byproduct of you being the thing. So being versus being known as. And so when you start thinking about identity, your identity should be rooted in you being, not simply being known as. And once you're comfortable being, then what you have and what you're doing, it's not irrelevant, but it becomes less meaningful because you are so comfortable simply being who you're called to be. That's what this thing is all about. That's what we have to find value. And to me, this is the example that Gilbert Arenas highlights and shows us, is that the money is not going to make you, right? The money gives you access. It probably gives you some time and flexibility, but the reality is you still have to do the work to understand who you are at an authentic level. And that's just real. That's real. Money can't buy that. It buys you time, it buys you stuff, but it does not buy you peace of mind. All right. Well, hey, y'all let me know what you think about this, man. I think this was some really good stuff from Gilbert Arenas. And it's something to think about as we are on our pursuits in life. You know, let's be it. Let's not simply be focused on being known as it. Okay. Y'all, as always, be the quarterback of your mindset. Be blessed, well, and wise. Subscribe, share this thing out, and leave some comments. And until next time, I'll holler at you. Peace.